So I've started the broadcast.
Okay, perfect. All right, cool. Well, let's just wait for everyone to get in here.
It says 32 registered.
Yeah, it should
We
be
got a
because
couple
everyone
of
registers
attendees
once.
coming in.
Yeah. I got
So hi
Don,
everybody
Liz.
for the.
Hey Don, how you doing? Have you white boxed yourself, Mark?
Yeah.
Cool.
I believe so.
Oh, good stuff.
I
good
have,
stuff.
yeah.
For those of you who don't know, if Mark doesn't white box himself, he clicks a little link inside of the webinar, it switches between screens. Like every time I talk, it shows my ugly face on there. Everyone's like, "Oh, Pete, you fat bastard, get off the screen, mate." All right, guys. So if you can hear me, put a nice little hello in the chat box. See, Don, you said hi. If you can hear me, Don's put yes loud and clear in there. Just check everything's okay. Anish, Sergey, Dex, Don, Liz, John, Monica. Welcome, guys. Brad says hi. Hey, Brad.
Hey, Naveed. Sergey.
Hello. All right. Still wondering if people can hear me, actually. Hey, Dex.
Can everyone hear the audio okay? Just press yes.
Yeah, put a yes loud and clear, I think would be great. I think someone would have said, "Hey, I can't hear anything." If
Naveed says
awesome.
yes. Hi, Trent.
Yeah, great weekend, Trent.
Good weekend so far. There's a couple of football games in the U.S. I don't usually watch football, but these are really good games. So I want to check out some of these games. So I might dismiss you in about 10 minutes. No, I'm only kidding. But the Patriots are playing Denver today in the early game here. So I want to check a little bit of that out.
All right.
Trent says perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're about 1 after the hour. Give it a minute or two for everyone to get the cobwebs out on the weekend here.
So put a yes in the comment box if you did your homework.
Yeah, I got a couple of emails. Yeah, East Coast blizzard, tough weekend. Yeah, I kind of wish I was out there. I'm on the West Coast and it's sunny. And I was saying to my wife, you know, I wish it was snowing out here so I could feel comfortable just staying inside and eating today and watching football. But when it's sunny, I always feel like I have to go outside and play tennis or do something. I feel guilty. It's so beautiful outside.
Yeah. Good thing about England. Yep. Always have an excuse to sit in.
Never have to worry about that. So I did get some emails from you guys who did your homework. I get like 500 emails a day, so I apologize if I overlooked one or two of you. So if you did it and I don't call you out, just remind me if you did it, or there's a particular price chart that you want to see, or you have an idea about. I'll go over the few emails that I did get from the people who submitted their ideas, and I'll start with that. And then we'll check out what's going on. So I think we can go ahead and start. I'll just kick it off, Peter. So
Sure thing.
Okay, you can listen or whatnot. So I'll just start off with some of the emails I got with the ideas based on my teachings or whatever, how you see things going. So the first one was from Dave McCoy. He says the GBP New Zealand dollar has a potential move up 1,400 pips. Wow. And looking at the weekly charts, and the dollar CAD on the daily charts looks like a potential nice move up to retest highs in a weekly chart. CAD has no immediate resistance. So I have some ideas about the dollar CAD that I'm going to go into. So let's just quickly look at the pound New Zealand and what Dave is looking at here. Where's the pound New Zealand? It's right here, and here's the weekly chart. So this is kind of ambivalent. There is some white space up here. This has been let's take a look at the monthly and work backwards from there. So when something is cracked this hard, you know, yes, I can see some, you know, price action to the upside. It could go up 1,400 pips. Difficult to see right now because this kind of looks like a head and shoulders right here. Again, on these long-term charts, you can see. I don't really want to remove this, so on these, so you know, I'm seeing this shoulder here, the head, the right shoulder. We cracked the neckline, and you know, we could move back up to this 225 area, which is a, you know, support or resistance. So I don't have any particular ideas here. It looks like this has come off, and you know, look, could it double bottom here and then start moving up here? I don't know. Certainly this reversal bar suggests that I don't see any movement above here, but you know, 219 to 235 is maybe what Dave is looking at. So again, you know, these long-term charts are very hard to, you know, prognosticate. And you know, you could probably make a case either way. There may be some support here, so we'll just have to keep an eye on this. It's you know, some of these exotic pairs, you know, have just put on some weird price action and movements, and it's not always, you know, clear what the pattern is. We did fall out of this head and shoulders, so right now for me that is the guiding pattern up here. You know, any move upward to this neckline to me would, you know, provide some short-term resistance, and you know, likely kind of come back in this area. So we'll monitor that. And then Dave, like I said, I'm going to come back to the Canadian dollar. I have a lot of thoughts about that, and we'll take a look at that. So Dave's thought was on the GBP NZD. I'm not saying yes or no. You know, we'll just have to monitor that on a, you know, on a daily. I don't really see this as a nice double bottom. You know, typically I like to see some reversals down here. Yes, you've caught some support in here, but I think this bar as an overhang, this bar as an overhang, to me suggests that these bars are the predominant, you know, overhangs, and will guide the price action, so that, you know, I could see this thing continuing maybe to roll over a little bit lower. To me, this is still a downtrend. I don't see a double bottom that I really like here. You know, and you know, sometimes again, these things, you know, they look like double bottoms, and just in my craw, I just don't feel they are. I mean, I think Sergey sent me a chart on the Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar, and said, you know, isn't this a, you know, an inverted head and shoulders? And it does look like that, but you know, for certain reasons, you know, certain, you know, like I said, if I want to see a double bottom, I like to see these reversals here, where the market makes a new low, closes on the high, new low, closes on the high, and then, you know, this looks like it'll stick and hold at least for a certain time. These all close on the low, this closed on the low, this never went and made a new low and closed on the high. So I'm pretty ambivalent about this. It looks pretty wishy-washy. Action could go, you know, sideways, be a little bit messy, but I would expect this thing to roll over a little bit. So not overly bullish pound versus New Zealand at the moment. So let's take another look at, so I think this was, is this Sergey's? Yeah. So Sergey said, on the monthly time frame, the Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar printed an inverse head and shoulders pattern indicating bullish opportunities. So let's take a look at that. And yes, at first look, it would appear that way. This is the daily. It's kind of ambivalent here. Can't really see much there, but let's look at the weekly. And I see exactly what Sergey is looking at. But again, you know, so I don't want to really get out of this thing, but I'm going to have to. This is the Canadian dollar long-term chart, and I want to get back to that because that's a nice conversation that we can have. So this is what Sergey saw, and I've seen the same thing. You know, where Sergey thought that, you know, potentially this could look like an inverted head and shoulders. And I don't have an elegant or articulate way of describing why I think, you know, a pattern looks a certain way, because sometimes you'll see these double tops and invert what looks like an inverted head and shoulders, and you can make a case, and certainly this on first look, you know, looks that way. But I don't think so. I think that, you know, this actually looks more like a double top within an existing downtrend. And frankly, this is, you know, a head and shoulders right here. This is what is a, to me, looks like a head and shoulders, and it certainly acted that way. So this broke from an established, bear price pattern. This head and shoulders broke under this neckline, and now is an established down market. We have this double top here, and yes, you have this support. You have what looks like an inverted head and shoulders, but to me, that's not a head and shoulders. First off, this shoulder, if you were going to call it, is part of this downtrend. And I don't like to see the shoulder, part of the primary thrust. So you can see, after this primary thrust, it worked sideways and the shoulder was formed away from this, this thrust up here. So this was part of the primary thrust. And then this shoulder was formed, over time away from this primary thrust, where this shoulder is just part of, kind of this thing. So again, I don't have an elegant or articulate way of saying why, a double top is a double top and sometimes it's not. I just, by looking at it, I can tell, again, what I want to see is something where, right within here, you have this key reversal right here, which is certainly more dominant than anything here. I mean, yes, we have this little key, key reversal here, but it didn't take out this, so it's not a weekly. You do have this one here, which put a slight limit on the down move, but I see this as this is being the primary price action that it broke out of. This is an established downtrend. We have this double top here, and that I still see the market moving down into this area here. Now, I could be wrong, but this is my feeling, that even if this thing were to turn around, it would have to come back here, double bottom around here, and then maybe have a chance to go up. But I still think we're going to penetrate into this white space lower on the Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar. So for anything that we look at, odd CAD, odd US versus New Zealand US, my feeling is that the odd, the Australian dollar is going to be weaker than the New Zealand dollar over time in the next days and weeks going forward. So I don't know if that's clear or not. And Sergey, thank you for submitting that. You may be right, and I'm wrong, but I don't see this as an inverted head and shoulders. I don't like to see the shoulder, as part of this primary thing. I like it to build away, like this did. This was the primary thrust, and then it spent, a lot of time building away from that primary thrust, putting on this left shoulder here, and then of course going on and putting on the right shoulder. So I don't know if that was extremely clear. Like I said, I don't have an articulate way of just sometimes articulating what I see in a market, why a double top is a double top sometimes and why it isn't the other times. And just by going over these charts enough, hopefully you'll start seeing what I see. And again, I'm going to be wrong many times also. So let's go back to another email. Let's see. Core said that he liked the Australian yen. I've chosen Australian yen, Japanese yen to be a high probability trade on the buy side. He says he sees an ascending triangle, key reversal, more space to the upside. And so let's take a look at the Australian dollar versus the Japanese yen. So this is what I see on the monthly thing. I see, you came into this resistance area over here and you have this double top. So this is kind of troublesome to me on the, the long-term chart, the Australian dollar yen. We have this double top here that's been guiding the price action. You did have this weekly reversal here. We fell out of it nicely. We did get a snapback because you've got all of this, kind of action to the left and all this history to go through. It's not going to be easy to penetrate all this thing, but I do still feel, and we'll talk about the yen. So let's just keep drilling down and looking at Australian yen on the weekly. Again, we've had this nice snapback, this key reversal, which, has to be, somewhat respected. These things You can see when they come in, even if they go sideways, they provide a certain limit to the downside. So even though we played around in this area, tested this area, it did come back off here. The same thing here, same thing over here, and we could have something that certainly puts a limitation on the downside. But the question is, how much will we bounce off here and go to the upside? And my thinking is we've had this straight wall down that markets don't typically go straight up against that, so that even if we go up a little bit more, my feeling is we're going to come back down in here, retest it just like here, where you come up slightly off these reversals, and then boom, it comes back for a retest. And it's my feeling that these yen pairs are probably going to do the same. We may get some follow through this week, and then all of a sudden you're going to get something, and then you're going to come back down here, retest it. I don't know if we go and make new lows, we retest it, put a double bottom, come back up, etc. But on the weekly, I don't, I think that any more upside thrust probably going to be a shorting opportunity. So let's take a look at this daily chart that Core sent through, and this is again, let's kind of take a picture of this and talk about this in more detail. So not sure what the ascending wedge that Core was referring to here. I think what he was pointing out was maybe right in here we've got this going on, and it could be. So again, in my mind, if you're going to turn around a major, bear move like this, where this market fell, from where the 91 area all the way to 79, that's a huge move. To my mind, to turn things around, I mean, yeah, you get these V bottoms in sometimes, but you usually need so much backing and filling and creating so much space to turn this thing around to go back up. So I think that while this may look like a a reverse triangle or wedge, and it could be, again, these things do give these false breakouts, and then they break back down, and kind of that's my expectation here. I don't think we formed enough price history down here to turn this thing around just yet. So that, to me, any further moves to the upside in the yen pairs are probably going to be great selling opportunities. I am looking at right here, we've got this reversal candle right here, and now we've come up into this area, and to me, again, I think that we're going to hit significant resistance. I think what the significant pattern that's guiding the Australian yen is this guy right here, which is a head and shoulders formation. We crash through the neckline. So to me, that's the major pattern in play. Do we come up all the way and test this neckline? Maybe. Maybe there's still enough energy here to do that. But again, to me, I would view any upside here as a shorting opportunity. And so, I would love it to go up and then fail, do one of these, and then I'll know to get back on the bandwagon short Australian yen, dollar versus Japanese yen. So Core, I think that, you may have seen this pattern, but also these ascending patterns have high failure rates. These things right here, these are reverse wedges, so sometimes they'll get up here, trap everybody here, and then come down here. So this is a kind of a miniature thing. So for me, the bigger the pattern, the better. The more price history within a pattern, the more the market can move. So the more history you got in here, so for instance, you have a lot of price history here on this head and shoulders. You did a lot of work going sideways, which provided a lot of energy, coiled energy, to then come out of. So from almost from October through what are we here, January 16th or so. So we went 1, 2, 3 months sideways, right? and then it, and then in 5 days it just crashed. So 3 months of work and then 5 days to, take advantage of this thing where, this is, kind of gone, for whatever, 10 trading days or so. So much less than the 3 months. So I don't know if that's, good explanation for you guys. You understand the more price history, the more building and backing and filling and sideways action within a certain range, the better the probability, of a huge move from that. This move fell out of a huge double top, preceding. You can't really see all that history, but this was building for some time. So the bigger the build, the more price action, the more we can expect, that to go up. And to me, this has only been, 10 days, sideways at the bottom of this move. And I see this as a great selling opportunity, frankly. So I guess Trent Johnson agrees with that. Yeah, perfect, needs to do more work. It says it's clear. Core, thank you for submitting that, but respectfully, I think I see this kind of going the other way, and I'm going to be looking for a short opportunity. And again, let's just take a quick look at the yen, and kind of the confusion in my mind right now is because so there is going to be an important move in these yen pairs, and it's just a question of how, what, when, and where. But I think if we keep our attention on the bigger pattern, this should keep us honest and on the right side. So in your weekly video report that I sent out in the email tonight, I don't know if you've already seen it or had a look at it, I pointed out that for some time I was looking at this double top right here on November 3rd. I said, I think that this market is going to turn down by 500 to 1,000 pips. We did move 500 pips lower, primarily because I saw the double top and this head and shoulders. This again is on a weekly, so it's a much longer term time frame. And last week, magic happened, and the market turned right at the the neckline here, and we've had this bounce, which was very normal, because every time we've come into this area we've had a significant bounce, and that's how markets behave. And so now we'll have to see if we get a little bit more penetration to the upside, follow through. But to me, anything moving upside is a shorting opportunity. And then of course, if we come back down to this area, it's going to be probably open and pave the way for something much lower. I am looking at this price gap right here at 112.40, which is I guess 600 pips lower than where we are now. So that's also what's informing me against Australian dollar yen. So any move up, we would be saying the Australian dollar is going to be stronger than the Japanese yen. And if the market moves this way, the yen will get stronger, right? So this is the dollar versus the yen. So right now, the dollar's stronger last week against the yen, but the yen has been pretty much stronger, for the last, several weeks. And I expect it to probably stay strong relative to other pairs. So Australian dollar, yen will probably get weaker as the yen gets stronger. And I also expect the Australian dollar to go down too. So now you have a situation, Australian dollar going down and the yen going higher. So that should drive the Australian, yen lower. But, look, if we get follow through here, this could change the whole picture. So I'm going to be, tracking this closely. There is I won't say confusion in my mind, but now you've got a battle of, patterns and price action, where I see an established pattern, but now I've got to be attentive to the price action also. And the price action did a weekly reversal. These reversals, do mean things. When you get these things, even though they may not follow through and, immediately, you get some back into filling, but eventually they, point the way to, higher, price action. So, who's to tell that this thing doesn't go 200 pips higher, in which case, odd yen could go higher. But I'm going to be watching this very closely. I'm going to be watching the price action and then looking at the price action within the context of the pattern. And then does this turn into a busted pattern, where, you know, it just takes all of this out and then, you know, violates, you know, that double top and head and shoulders and becomes a busted pattern, or, you know, does it start fulfilling the expectations of what this pattern should look like over time? So, you know, we have some context now with which to view price action going forward. Let's take another look at another email that came in. Let's see. So, okay, George was a little confused using NetDania charts to ensure. Can you advise on what setting? You know, I use the bar chart. I use a daily. Period is automatic. It's usually 6 months, etc. So, you know, George asked about these NetDania charts, and typically here's the daily. It usually, by default, usually involves about 6 months worth of price history, and so the period expands. So you can just kind of expand it this way, or there's a thing within NetDania that you just click on, and then it unhinges the charts from the inside of NetDania, and you can look at it individually here. But I don't want to spend a lot of time doing that. So this is a NetDania chart. So George was a little bit confused. So here's the chart type. I use bar, open, high, low, close as the default on NetDania. So I just look at bar charts. I don't look at candlesticks or anything else. You can also look at bar, high, low, close, something like that. But I look at the open, high, low, close. So let's see if I reduce this, what picture this gives me. Yeah, so you can look at it that way too. And it tells you. I just look at the bar open. It gives me different colors and whatnot. So that's let's see, George's submission. And again, I apologize if I didn't get all of them. Liz sent in, I've chosen Euro GBP pound. Liz likes the reversal on the daily and the weekly, which we talked about, and I agree with this. Liz, I think you're exactly right. I agree with this also. I think we've hit a very steep pocket in the weekly. Again, you see this giant reversal bar. The bigger the reversal, the more impact and meaning this has. We talked about this area where you have all these reversal bars, in the same area. This market basically traded back up to, the breakout from this thing and then turned down. And now, I think it's, it's gonna, turn down. It just, it's gonna be messy because, you have all this price history here. The market's just not going to go straight down through all of this. So I could see it cutting down a little bit, then going back up here, testing, and you could get a long sideways backing and filling, and a lot of noise in this market. So I think that we have an understanding of what the major direction will be. So every time we get a selling opportunity, we understand that that's going to be probably the major thrust of this market over time. I don't expect it to be clean, so we'll have to be pretty opportunistic on the short sales on the euro versus the pound. But this again puts in context which way we should be looking. So again, this has gone up. I don't expect to go straight down against this. We may get some follow through, and then I wouldn't be surprised to see a reversal where it comes off tonight or tomorrow, and then reverses, and we've got a key reversal to the upside, and then we start playing around here. And the idea is now we've got to build away from this thing to fall further down. So I expect this thing to be a messy affair. And I'm going to be looking for any opportunities to get short, but I think we have to be selective, and we can be patient and wait till the market comes to us. I'm not looking at anything now, but I agree, Liz. I think this market is over. The euro over time should get weaker relative to the pound. I think the euro on balance looks weaker against everything: euro AUD, euro CAD, euro USD. So I think that euro looks like it's going to be weaker against most of the trading pairs, and so we'll be looking for shorting opportunities there. We have this is euro US dollar. We have a trading range here. You know, on the upside, you have this key reversal here. On the downside, you have, you know, this kind of thing, you know, impeding any downside action. So you have this back and forth. You have this inside day bar, which is something I look at, and, you know, yeah, I think we could get some follow through, and then it'll come, you know, here, and then it'll catch, you know, some support, and then we could have a, you know, a bounce here and a key reversal. So, you know, while this is a, you know, an interesting, you know, inside day bar, for you guys, you know, you may put a sell stop here, and if you want to, you know, catch a 20, 30, 40 pip move, you know, very quickly, I think there is a play here. You know, it's not something that, you know, I'm going to send out an email. It's not something long term that I feel comfortable with, but I think you know, certainly could catch 20, 30, 40 pips pretty easily as it falls out of here, and then, you know, it may, you know, catch some support within here. So euro looks weak. There is a small play. If you guys want to experiment with that, you know, you probably could make some nice pips on the downside, and then, you know, pull a trigger very quickly. So on balance, the euro looks like it's heavy, but who knows? It could catch support here, go back up. It's just a mess in here, and I'm going to stay away from euro US dollar for the time being. I think that was all the homework assignments that I got. Trent Johansson said, I'm having a little bit of trouble finding a potential trade. So we'll talk about some potential trades here, Trent. You know, I wanted you to just take a stab, just to, you know, see that you're digesting some of the things I'm talking about. So no problem there. So if anybody else submitted something and I overlooked it, I apologize. Like I said, I get so many emails that, you know, I might have deleted something by mistake. If you want to put something in the chat box about something that you submitted, and I didn't talk about, I apologize. Let me just talk a little about this Canadian dollar, because I think there's going to be some great opportunities here. And unfortunately, yeah, this is it. Okay. So let me just blow this up, and let's, you know, talk a little bit about the Canadian dollar. It's amazing how the market looks like it just turned on a dime last week from, you know, for no reason. And, you know, it just turned. You know, we see this, you know, this dollar CAD, you know, it's been going up and up and up. And then all of a sudden, you know, from 1 minute to the next, it just, you know, decides to just turn down here from nowhere. Well, when you look at these longer term charts, you can see, you know, the market in its infinite wisdom and magic. This wasn't just from nowhere. You can see that this is, again, is a chart that goes back to 95. It's a 20-year chart of the, you know, dollar versus the Canadian dollar. And you can see that the Canadian dollar is weakened from 90 cents to 130 US. And it came up to this area, and look at that. I mean, it came exactly up to, you know, I guess this was, I guess in 08 or something like that, about 8 years ago, came up to exactly what looks like the same area. And so there's, you know, no, you know, anxiety when you look at this long-term chart as to why it turned and where it turned. So that's why we really have to be attentive to the longer-term time frames. You know, on these longer moves, they do inform us of, you know, potential points. And to me, you know, the market still, you know, is really still a down market in the main. We did have this brief thrust here. We have the thrust off the bottom here, but now we have this natural resistance point, and I could certainly see a move here. I don't know how much. And then, you know, I don't know if we go back up or we go back down or whatever, but this certainly on a long-term chart looks to me like a huge inflection area. And so in the main, I think we have to look at, you know, and assume that the Canadian dollar, you know, for the next days, weeks, maybe months, you know, is going to get incrementally stronger over time, just based on this 20-year chart. So, you know, put a comment in the chat box if you think that this is a pretty exciting chart and really kind of illustrates, you know, on a visual basis these markets and the genius of the markets. You know, where they get to certain points, there's no question or you know, why it turned right here where it did. So certainly an inflection point. Will, you know, if nothing else, we'll have to do a lot of work sideways to, you know, retest this. And then if we're going to go up, then, you know, we'll certainly have a major level to look at, and it'll inform us. But I think for now, looks like the dollar, the Canadian dollar slide is over. And so now we have to look at, which pairs look like the most opportunistic, where the Canadian dollar is going to strengthen and other currencies are going to weaken. And to my mind, probably Euro-CAD fits this the best, where Euro looks, weak against all the currency pairs. And if we assume, Canadian is going to get stronger, certainly this is one of the most vulnerable charts. We did talk about this a lot last week. And I'm kind of very upset. I missed a good portion of this 900 pip move, but I certainly think we're going to get a few bites at the apple here. So, there's a couple of scenarios that I drew out last week where you have this reverse wedge where it just keeps coming down really, really quickly, to this, neckline, in this fashion. Which it's on a trajectory to do that. I mean, even if it, kind of put an inside day bar here, which I would love it to do, kind of holds within here, or maybe we get a key reversal, maybe a little move up, and then, another thing down, because I think it's going to come and test this 150 area pretty quickly based on what we're seeing in the Canadian dollar and the euro. So I'm certainly, going to be attentive to any opportunities. I just want to see this thing settle out where we can get in on a much higher probability trade, also be able to assess our risk. And then I can see it coming down here and then putting on some price action here, building away from this uptrend, head and shoulders, and then perhaps opening up a move for something like this. So again, looking at the euro looks weak, Canadian looks strong. Euro-CAD to me looks like a major candidate going forward for a great trade to the downside. So we'll be looking at opportunities there. Tonight, I sent out a trade. Well, let me break it apart. I think, and wait a minute, I think there was somebody else who, okay, here. I'm sorry, Brad Good did send in an email also. I'll apologize for, and Brad sent in a lot of things. Odd CAD trend is up, double top is formed to close at the low, neckline has not been broken, but consider a sell. I agree with that. That's actually a recommendation I sent tonight. Odds. So we see there's a lot of stuff that Brad sent in, so I'll be looking at a lot of these. One of his favorite was Australian dollar, US dollar, and I agree with that too as a sell. So thanks for submitting all of this, Brad. And you also looked at New Zealand dollar, Swiss franc, and I'll take a look at that also. So sorry about overlooking that first off, Brad. So I think that was the last one that I remember. So let's look at the Australian dollar, US dollar. I agree with you, Brad. I think that that to me is also fits my eye for a great opportunity here. Short, and this is one of the signals that or trade setups that I sent out last night. I hate using the word signals because I don't like to kind of position this as a signal service. I hope you guys will agree that this is a lot more. But for lack of a better word, trade setups or trade analysis is what I really do. And then a signal is a part of obviously that. So here we have the Australian dollar, US dollar. We did have this double bottom, which I identified back in September on this inside day bar. I put a buy stop right here and was put into this huge trade. I think I made about 285 pips. So these patterns do show up, even though this was a long-term downtrend. I saw this double bottom and we identified it just like we did in gold last week. And so this was a counter trend trade. We took advantage of this. It broke above the the neckline here, and traditionally most markets, when they break above the neckline, they do retrace. So even if this is going to be heading higher, I typically get out on a break above the neckline and then wait to see what happens. But this thing just dribbled lower, and then down here I got long again and took some trades there. But I think in the main, this is a long-term downtrend on monthly, weekly charts. So you have to look at the primary trend as the guiding force. There is this kind of triple top in play now. The market did break down out of it, broke below this double bottom. We had this key reversal last week, which then, put you into this move. But I think this was what I call a dead cat bounce, where, it's a huge move down. You have this, move up, but I don't think, it, has much upside potential. We have this key reversal here, and right when we got to that same area, we reversed lower, another key reversal at the same area. So now, I like to see maybe a little price action or against this, big, kind of move up. But, I'm looking for the next move down. So I do have a play in the Australian dollar, US dollar in the email tonight with a sell stop under Friday's lows. And, I'd like to take a retest, see if this is a double top. And if we can get, some price action. Sorry about my emails. I just left the emails open so I could read everybody else's email to me today. So I apologize for that. So Australian dollar, we have kind of a back and forth. We broke down, and, like I said, a lot of these charts are going to be very messy. The price action is going to be messy because we've had such extended moves, and we're going to get consolidations, we're going to get retests, we're going to get back and forth. So I think that expectations have to be reined in a little bit. I think you're going to get some big moves, but I think the markets have put on such big moves last year and then into this year that I think you're going to get a lot of retests, a lot of back and forth. So it's we have to be very selective here, and it's not going to be easy. But I think if we stick to our main analysis, if we isolate what the main guiding forces are, like euro pound monthly charts and dollar yen monthly charts, that will give us an insight as to where we should be looking. And then when we see the price action confirming that, we can jump on it. But you have to wait for these things. Don't chase the market. Wait for the market to give us a setup where we can get in these high probability opportunities. But we may be stopped out a lot just because of the volatility and the back and forth. So I will prepare you for that now. As I tell my clients, I can only do as well as the market environment will allow. And it's been a great market environment up to now. But it could get into a point where we get into consolidation, and then you get more chop, and then you just have to be way more selective and be able to tolerate getting stopped out. So that's just the way it goes. Brad says no sweat. I'll stop pouting now. Okay, Brad, thanks for that. What else do we want to talk about? Gold. I'm still a little bit ambivalent about gold. I was pretty high on it last week. The way this thing closed, I don't know. We'll have to see. It's going to be really a treat to kind of see how this plays out. This still is a long-term, downtrend. We have to respect that it is. And, I did see this short-term price action, but I'm not seeing any kind of follow-through here. We have these two inside day bars, which are kind of great. So you're gonna get a resolution one way or another, in the next session. Either we're gonna break down out of this thing, or we could clear it. Now we do have, this obstacle bar, if you will, at the left here and over here that this has got to clean through, which means that if we do go up, we're gonna go up big. But I do see potential where this thing could start looking heavy. One of the things I don't like, and what I would have liked to have seen when I see a market start, to turn, I want to see a lot of these key reversals at the bottom. This is what I love to see. And we frankly didn't get it in gold. We've got all these price actions where this market, close at the low, and then the next day it went up. And I don't like to see that. I don't know if you can build a solid house on a rickety foundation. And so I like to see a lot of these guys on the way up. And we don't have that. So I'm a little bit, ambivalent. I put our stop loss really close. So if we got stopped out, we're just going to forfeit a couple of pips. No harm, no foul. But, again, conversely, I'm looking at this, cup and tea handle thing. And so you can make a case for this. So either way, we're going to get a resolution very, very quickly on gold. And, I would say that if it starts to break up into these, higher areas here, if you're aggressive and want to put a stop at 1106, 1108, with your stop loss around the 1093 area, I would give that a shot too, because if we do start, breaking above these things, you could see, this move opening up to something bigger. Conversely, I said, if we do break down, yeah, I could probably see a quick move down here, which, opens a move for, 15 or 20 bucks. But then because of all this price history here, it's going to get messy. It'll need to build out before it can fall away. And I'm not saying that it won't. I mean, I actually see gold at $1,000. I just thought it may put a quick sprint up another 20, 30 bucks, to fail here, to break down. So I'm going to be monitoring this closely. It's not really showing me. I would have liked to have seen some price action on Friday that supported this up move, but frankly, the more this thing coils, the more meaning the next move's going to be. So you could actually put a sell stop here, 1091 or so, because I think once we break out of this thing, it's going to move one way or another pretty quickly, and you could get a nice $10 move that way. Conversely, you could get a nice $20 move that way. So if you want to play around with some orders, you're on the inside here. So I certainly could justify either one, where this now becomes a double top right here with inside day bars, and now if it breaks down, I think it's going to fall $10 very quickly or more. So I'll leave that up to you. Right now we're still long. I have the sell stop in on the main email there, but if you want to play around with some other orders, I'm giving you what my thinking is here in gold. So Rafael said, Mark, can you take a look at pound yen? It seems to have a head and shoulders in the daily and weekly. Sure. And again, I'm so ambivalent about these yen pairs. Does the yen, get, weaker right now, against the head and shoulders? Certainly I can make a case for pound getting stronger. So let's just break apart the components of the pound yen. So pound dollar, here's the pound. So we have this bounce off, this weak trend. We had this declining, descending wedge that it finally broke out of in the pound US dollar for a prolific move from 149 down to about the 140 area, about a 900 pip move straight down. And now we've got this, this bounce, which, of course, when you fall 900 pips, you're going to catch some support somewhere. And the question is, how much is this going to, extend for? And again, you've heard, my thoughts that when you get a wall like this straight down, you're not going to just go straight up against it. So my instinct, tells me any move upward, beyond this, you're going to get a lot of selling pressure, and this thing's going to come off. So, I think this is a great shorting opportunity, for any move that, goes up. I expect it to, do a key reversal and fail. Because, even if this thing's going to turn around at this juncture, to me, it's got to do a lot of work sideways to, create a U-turn to, invalidate this wall, invalidate this downtrend. It's not just going to go straight up. We're going to have to see a lot of back and filling in order to turn this thing around. So any further upside in the pound, to me, I view as a selling opportunity. And any down move in the yen, I view as a as a shorting opportunity. So or a buying opportunity, if you will. So I expect the yen pairs to keep going lower, but it's it's not going to be easy. Pound yen. So same explanation here. Here's the pound yen. This is a daily chart. And again, if we look at the main technical formation that was guiding this thing, we fell out of this huge double top here. I was saying for weeks and months, in this area, that I thought the next major move was down because of the you know, the major double top that was in place right in this area. You can't really see it well. And then, you know, over time, we then just put on this, you know, head and shoulders right here, which was the primary pattern. We had the you know, neckline coming in right around here. The intervention came in late December right here, and right at the neckline, and then put us on a course for much lower. So you can see that, you know, from when was it, from almost let's call it September through January 16th. So, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4 months sideways before it broke. So now I don't see it going 3 days, sideways and then going up. This took 4 months for it to put on a major thing. So, you know, I don't expect it to, you know, do one of these without a lot more, you know, backing and filling and building away. And, you know, so yeah, I mean, you know, we could get, you know, some follow through here and then, you know, a giant reversal. And then, you know, some backing and filling, and then if it's going to do that, it's got to do something like that. But it's not going to turn around right here. So Rafael says, can you take a look? It seems to have a head and shoulders in the daily and weekly. So I'm not sure if you're meaning up or down. So I'll look at the, so this is the daily. There's no head and shoulders here as far as I can see. I mean, unless you're, you know, pointing to maybe this is a left shoulder, this is the head. We would then have to kind of come down here and then make a right shoulder and then go up and, you know, maybe, but, you know, we still have to form this right shoulder. We have to do a lot more backing and filling. We have to come back down here, do some retests. So to me, I think that, you know, all these up moves last week in these yen pairs are selling opportunities. Now, I'm not going to get in front of a freight train. We may still see another 300 pip move here before it fails. So I'm not going to get in front of this. To me, my mind, my philosophy, as you can tell, is that I don't chase the market. I wait for it to tell me where it wants to go. If I'm gonna, you know, if it goes up 300 pips, I'll miss that on the upside, and it's just, you know, that's just whatever. It's I just can't assess where the risk is at this point. And this isn't setting up for a great opportunity that I can really see. But, you know, could it go up 200 pips from here? You know, absolutely. I'd be excited about that because to me, I view that as a selling opportunity. On the weekly, Rafael, let's just take a quick look here. You know, to me, again, the weekly looks like it's heavily damaged. We see the major pattern. If you talk about a head and shoulders, to me, the head and shoulders is, you know, on the upside. So here's the left shoulder, the head, the right shoulder. We cracked this neckline. And so, you know, I see maybe a potential where, you know, you come all the way back to maybe that neckline, 175, a retest, and then, you know, something like this. So yeah, you may still have, you know, 200-300 pips on the upside here, but I see that still the major pattern in force here is the overhang. I don't see any weekly head and shoulders on the, you know, or inverted head and shoulders. I'm not sure what you meant there. So yeah, I think maybe that's, you didn't specify that it was on the downside. So Rafael, I think that's what you were talking about. You know, the weekly head and shoulders. So I agree with you 100%, Rafael. Yes, he said he was mentioning as a possible short for the future, and I agree with that. I think that, you know, I'm looking for these yen pairs to go lower. We looked at the dollar yen. We see that big head and shoulders there too. So you can see that it came right to this long-term support area back in, I guess, February several years ago, and bounced, you know, right at that area. I expect this to be a dead cat bounce where it just goes and then fails. So I do expect that to be a great short opportunity, and you know, probably a failure on Monday where we go higher and then you know, close on the low. So for you guys who are aggressive, you know, if you see 100-200 pip rally in the pound yen, you want to, you know, start shorting it with small lots. You know, that's probably what I'm going to do. because I think it's pretty baked in the cake what's going on here. Pleasure, Raphael. That's exactly what he saw, and I concur 100% with that. So thanks for sharing that with all of us. Any other charts or anything that you guys are seeing that I haven't covered? I think that's about it for now. You know, we had a dead cat bounce in the S&P, the stock indexes last week, kind of same thing here, where we're seeing a lot of these rallies in the oil market, S&P, just because you've had such a prolific downtrend. You have this double top going on here. You came exactly to this neckline. You can see all these markets, dollar yen and pound yen, and all these things came to very important support areas. They all, found some support at these things. Conversely, we saw, resistance area in the Canadian dollar that it came off of. So these things are, really important. When they hit these long-term, things, you get these snapbacks. And then the question is, how much do we extend from here? How meaningful is this? And, the reality is, we watch these necklines here at about the 1800, and if we're going to roll back over here, then watch out. I think there's going to be real trouble in stock index land here. So I'm very bearish. I see some very ominous things on the world economic stage. I think we're grappling with a deflationary scenario that I don't think any governments or central bankers have ever seen before. So I think that we could be heading into a situation worse than 2008. And that's just something that I'm thinking about right now. But I think that'll provide opportunities for us, but we'll have very dire consequences for people who are holding traditional assets like mutual funds and stocks. And I don't know if this eventually extends to the real estate market, but I think there's some really bad things going on. I think this oil decline has some real meaning in terms of what it really means, because it just means an indication of slowing demand across the board here. So it's not a good thing on balance, but we can certainly take advantage of it here. Anything, any other markets that you want to share? Any charts? Any direction? Anything that you guys see that I haven't touched on? Or I think again the big currencies that we want to focus on is yen. Will the yen continue to strengthen in the direction of that head and shoulders pattern? Will the Canadian dollar continue to strengthen in light of that 20-year resistance area? I think we've hit a pocket of resistance in the euro, where the euro on balance looks to go lower, euro versus Australian dollar, euro versus CAD, euro USD. So we'll have to see what that looks like going forward. So those are the big pairs that I think we're going to see a lot of opportunity: the Canadian crosses and the yen crosses. And I think that's where we'll see a lot of opportunities in the next few days and weeks. Anything else, guys? Can you look? Anish says, can you look at pound odd long? Okay. This is Anish. He wanted to check out pound odd. Where we here we go. So Anish, looking at the weekly, we see this key reversal here, which set in motion a decline. You can also see maybe this head and shoulders top. You have this descending kind of falling wedge, I call it. Let's just do a capture here. So again, in its ultimate wisdom, the market points to where it wants to go. Here it was saying, I want to go down. And it certainly after that did go down. Now we have this, what I call a falling wedge. You can see how symmetrical this is. And, can we get down here, play back up here? This kind of thing looks lower. So what's that saying is that the pound is looking weaker than the odd, but who knows? I mean, we'll have to see. Anything, this wedge line will give us an indication to support. And then, if we start coming up here and then through here, maybe that'll give us an indication of a renewed move to the upside. I mean, this is a long-term uptrend. Typically, these long-term uptrends just don't end, very quickly. They require a lot of work, and that, you could get a retest before it, falls. Again, these weekly charts are a little bit deceptive. They don't always, create the patterns like we see on the dailies. But certainly, I think, Anish, if you kind of, look at what's going on within these symmetrical wedge lines, I think there may be a buying opportunity here. And conversely, if we come up here, we may get another sell. But, if we start cracking above here, that could alert us to a continuation. But as it stands right now, the way this thing, looked and, it ended up last week, nothing that I probably want to jump on right away. Again, we don't have to get ahead of the markets. They'll tell us when the best time is to get in. There is a potential double bottom here. But again, the old thing is, when's a double bottom, and not a double bottom? To me, I see these guys right here, this descending, this reverse, this reversal right here, key reversal here, and this key reversal. I see these much more in my mind's eye than I see anything on the bottom. I do see this reversal here, this kind of reversal here, but these kind of stand out much more potently in my mind, for a lack of a better word. So I think, this really isn't a double bottom in my mind's eye. I would have liked to have seen these being symmetrical, and it just doesn't line up in my eyes. So I think that, you may get a little move up here, a little follow through from this reversal, and then this thing rolls over, retests, comes through here, and then does it catch support, builds away from this primary. I think we need to build away more to turn this thing around. This still looks like a very descending pattern, and all these reversals at the top, catch my eye much more than anything on the lower thing. So I don't really make a case right now in my mind for long pound versus Australian dollar. To me, any move up, I'd be inclined to short that. Anything else you guys want me to take a look at? And again, in my email today, I did a little 10-minute weekly video report. I shared a lot of my thoughts there, maybe some over and above what we talked about here. So you can view that. You can see the signals that I have out tonight for what I'm thinking are high probability trades going forward. Again, I'm waiting for these Canadian dollar pairs to kind of settle down from the volatility last week. GBP CAD, Euro CAD. To wait for some further opportunities there. I'm also looking at these yen pairs. Can they extend a little more before they turn down again? And then we'll hop on those. So I think we're going to get some opportunities. We just need to wait for the market to digest some of the volatility that occurred last week and give us something that's a little bit more amenable in terms of a risk-reward outlook that we can jump on. Sergey said NZD USD. This is a signal that I sent out tonight. So I agree with that, Sergey. I like NZD short very much. I think you can overweight some kind of risk on this trade. Go a little higher if you want, because I really feel like this thing's going to come off. So we have this huge long-term downtrend. Within the long-term downtrend, we have this huge double top that's been thing. We came to a kind of a natural support area here. And then, last week on Friday, we had this inside day bar right at this, reversal. I don't know if you can quite see that. This market reversed in a big way, pretty close to Friday's action. We put this inside day bar here. So I think, a pending order to sell this market right under these lows is going to be, a great thing. So I don't know if it's going to require a little bit more of a build away from this little uptrend that we had last week, an inside day bar or whatever, a few of them. So the risk with the volatility, this week is, or what you're seeing is that, you could get a move down here and then it's pretty close to this wall and then it kind of comes up, retest this thing and then we get this. And so it may require a little bit more work, but I think it's certainly worth, testing this market because I think that we're going to turn lower and, and test this direction pretty quickly here in New Zealand dollar, US dollar. So, I like that quite a bit, Sergey. So I hope that, answers, one of the things that you wanted to see here. Brad wants to look at New Zealand dollar Swiss, and I don't know if I have that in my thing here, so I'm going to have to go to my instrument panel and let's see. New Zealand dollar Swiss. Okay. And it didn't open up, I guess maybe because it's, so let's go to Netanya. Sunday, so maybe they haven't. All right, so New Zealand dollar Swiss franc. This was from Brad. So let me just kind of reduce this a little bit so I can see what's going on. We do have this double top up there on the daily. So I'd say there's a big resistance area, Brad, at the 68.50. We're now at 65.80. So we'll have to see what this, looks like. We've got this double top up here. The Swiss franc, has been, it was a, tied currency. It came off that, so it's somewhat of an exchange control currency. That's why I'm a little bit hesitant, but you can see that if we look at the 8-hour and the Swiss franc, that the major thrust is down, that we've had a, penetration off here. We do have this double bottom, but I think that on balance, this has been a downtrend. I do expect the New Zealand dollar to go lower. And we do have kind of a double top in place here. So I think I have to respect that as the major pattern. We have a bit of a head and shoulders. We have this reversal bar here that I think is containing the action in here. So I think you're going to see some resistance right around current levels in New Zealand dollar, Swiss franc. But I do like, dollar Swiss franc. I do see the Swiss franc moving lower against the dollar. So nothing really too exciting there, Brad. So yeah, I do agree that it's probably a short opportunity at current areas. I did get you guys prematurely out of the dollar Swiss last week, even though I like it, and I apologize for that. I think we get further up into this white space, and this thing looks like it's an ascending triangle or whatnot for the dollar Swiss. So I do see dollar getting stronger against the Swiss franc in the immediate time frame. I think you get up so it looks like the dollar is going to go stronger again, certainly against the euro, and probably against the pound, although less strong against the pound. And then it's going to go weaker against the Canadian dollar. So there's a lot of cross currents in the dollar, and that's why I got out of the dollar Swiss franc, because I saw there was some cross currents, some heaviness, and just instinctively, based on this, I just said reflexively, just get out so we can take another look. I was wrong about that. I mean, it still looks pretty good. So you do have to look at each one of these things on its own basis. And dollar Swiss franc still looks pretty good. The dollar still, the uptrend is still intact. So it could go down against the, Canadian dollar temporarily, against the yen temporarily, and up against the euro. So, you have to look at each one very, very on its own merits now. And, it can't be influenced. And I was kind of influenced by, some temporary heaviness here. And that's why I said get out of dollar Swiss. And that was a mistake on my part. Kaz says, sorry, I've missed the Australian dollar US dollar trade explanation for this trade. You think the signal is strong enough that you don't have to wait for another inside day bar? So, you know, I've kind of put that on tonight's signals. I you know, told you what I thought about it. I do think that, you know, it's a downtrend, although you had this weekly kind of bar up. You've got a lot of cross currents in these markets now, so you know we may be stopped out a lot on some of these trades, but I do think that you have this reversal here right in the same place, and that it could set it on a course to, you know, test these lower areas once again. Again, even if these markets are going to turn around, you can see that, you know, it's been, you know, going sideways for 5 months, and this thing bounced in 5 days. So even if this thing was going to go higher, to my mind, it has to retest down here to then go back up. So I expect the, you know, Australian dollar, US dollar to go lower in the immediate time frame, Kaz. So again, I think we've probably covered a lot of territory here. So in the main, just to summarize, looks like Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar, you know, are heavy. Euro looks heavy. The Canadian dollar looks like it's caught some support here, and we'll have to see what happens, you know, in the yen pairs at you know, current juncture. So we have a lot to look at. I think there's going to be, you know, a lot of opportunities, and you know, again, I'm going to look at everything in context with, you know, all the ways that I analyze markets, both with regard to patterns and price action. And that gives us a great guide as to, you know, how to set up, you know, high probability trades and have a lot of confidence in our trade setups. And that's what, you know, of course, this whole discussion is all about, is trying to whittle it down to having, you know, those few trades that we have, you know, a lot of confidence in. And you know, right now it's hard to have a lot of confidence just because of the volatility we have going on here. But again, you know, the market will give us an insight as to where to get in and how to get in, and we just have to pay attention to that. So I think that's a wrap for me, unless you guys want to extend the discussion into you know, any other area. So I'll wait. I'm almost always on a 30 or 40-second delay here, but between the time I ask a question and I get feedback. So I'm going to wait just a little bit longer, and unless you know, there's anything else, I will wish you a great weekend for the balance of the weekend, and we'll of course hook back up tomorrow and see how, you know, all of this worked out. So it doesn't seem like anybody, Kaz says thanks, great. Doesn't seem like anybody else has anything else. And again, for those who didn't submit, you know, your homework or things, if you want to submit your ideas, or anybody, even if you've submitted trades today, if you guys want to submit ideas, you know, into next week, just to, you know, show me that you guys are, you know, understanding what we're doing here, please feel free to do that. So Liz says thanks, Rafael says thanks, Trent says thanks. So Sergey says thanks. So thank you all for, you know, sharing your time, sacrificing your time on a Sunday, and I hope this was a worthwhile meeting, and we'll see you all tomorrow. All right, Naveed, you too, you're welcome. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye now.